So let's get started. What is the meaning of trauma? Let's just check the definition in online. Not going to pick out what kind of dictionary and what's right and what's wrong. We're just going to do a quick search. So the quick search is trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience, 1. And within medicine, 2, is a physical injury, okay? There are many, many different definitions of trauma. I have read that trauma is an event or series of events affecting individuals or a group. My most favorite, well, not favorite, but my most favorite definition of trauma is an experience that is overwhelming the nervous system. And I feel like that encompasses all, but mostly it encompasses what happens to your body within, after, during, and before a traumatic event. So that's my most my most favorite. And the reason why this one pulls to me more is because it's more than just the word trauma. It's more than the soundbite of the word trauma. These buzzwords that are going on right now, trauma is one of them. Trauma is definitely one of them. But it's not about what trauma does to you physically. Not does to you, but it's not about the trauma. It's about what the trauma does to you from within. And that's what we're going to get into. So first we'll go to the biological part of trauma and what happens to you when these things happen. And what I'm talking about is your body's stress response, your body's response to trauma. So one of the things that I'm going to discuss is how is it that you hold trauma in your body? Like biologically, like how do you hold trauma in your body? I get the understanding of the blanketed statement of, yes, well, you hold it in your body, but how do you hold trauma or stress in your hips, in your chest, in your shoulders, in your neck, and all of those places? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the biology of the response that happens from a traumatic situation. So there's 3 parts in your brain that take part in this situation, and it's in your brain because this is your main communication system. This is who sends out all the signals all over the place. Your mainframe, your motherboard. So there's 3 things that happen. These components that are involved in this stress response are the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the cerebral cortex. Now, the amygdala is your smoke detector. The amygdala lets, through your sensory functions, lets your body know or activates a signal to tell your body to get ready for survival mode or fight or flight. That is what the amygdala does. My goodness. That is what it does. It's a complex structure of cells. Now, remember I said this later on. Complex structure of cells. Now, it sends a signal to your hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus is the command center, and it works closely with your autonomic nervous system. ANS. Your ANS is the system that the system in your body that deals with the involuntary functions that your body goes through, like breathing, things that you don't have to be consciously aware of for them to go on. Your heart beating, your blood pressure rising, all of those types of things. This system is responsible for those functions, okay? So the hypothalamus works closely with that system. And when it does is it sends a signal, yet another signal. Now, the autonomic nervous system has two components, and those two components are the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, sympathetic nervous system, now just, stay with me because this is all going to make sense in a minute. It's going to all make sense in a minute. So the sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal. Okay, that's what they refer to it as. It's the gas pedal. This system revs up your body to get ready for running, fighting, quick thinking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it revs up your body. It sends signals and hormones and adrenaline and cortisol to different sections of your body. A lot of times it takes away from, well, not a lot of times, it does. It takes away from other systems that are normally going in your body and put that energy somewhere else. So it removes energy from your organs. It removes energy from your immune system. It removes certain things from your digestive system, and not necessarily remove, but it stops paying attention to that and goes to giving you more energy in your limbs, giving you more, raising your heart rate, allowing your lungs to open up more so you can take in more air. That's what that is. Sympathetic nervous system. Now, the parasympathetic is the break. Now, that is when that normally happens after the danger or perceivable threat is over. When it comes to the traumatic situation, that kicks back in. That's probably your normal space. You know what I'm saying? It slows your heart rate back down. It goes back to working on your immune system. It goes back to working on your digestive system and things like that. So it brings you back to homeostasis. It brings you back to calm. Okay. So, and then after that, there is the cerebral cortex. Now, this particular part in your brain, which is kind of basically like your left brain, it gets hijacked during this time. It stops. It doesn't work. Somebody turned the switch off. And that is your human thought. That is your rationalization. That is your analyzing. This is your logic, your imagination, your conscious mind. The mind that makes logical decisions. Like, you know what I'm saying? So imagine, this is just an example. So imagine you are possibly being attacked or mugged or something like that, and you wind up killing the person. After that situation, your cerebral cortex is not really involved during that time, because normally you wouldn't kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? Your logical reason for not killing somebody, but in a space of fight or flight or survival, which your sympathetic nervous system does during these times, you might actually kill somebody because you're in a survival mode. But in that time, your cerebral cortex is not necessarily working, or it's off or hijacked, or it's not firing. It's not firing because most of the decisions that you make in a high stress response situation, you would not make those same decisions otherwise. Now, the cerebral cortex comes back in after the whole traumatic situation has subsided and you now realize that you're safe and, all of those, type things. Okay. So let's recap. When the stress response starts, and this is what I'm going to refer to this going forward, not necessarily what the event of trauma was, the actual abuse, the actual whatever it was, what the trauma is. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about what happens within your body when this happens. So first, the amygdala is the smoke detector, and it gets a signal through your sensory, functions that danger is approaching. Now, mind you, all of this stuff happens before you even know what's going on, before you consciously can understand what's going on. Like before you even put eyes on it, your body is already detecting that. And you want to know why? It's because the senses that you have, the magnetic field, your auroric field, all these fields that are invisible around you detect things coming before your physical body actually detects them, if that makes sense. So the smoke detector goes off. The smoke detector sends a signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, who works with the autonomic nervous system, then tells them what to do. Danger is approaching, stranger danger, Molly, you're in danger. A possible threat is coming. You need to send everybody out so that we can be protected. And that's what the autonomic nerve system does when it comes to the parasympathetic and the sympathetic systems of that situation. So you go into sympathetic system, and that is fight or flight. Remember, parasympathetic is rest and digest. It's the break. Fight or flight, gas, rest and digest, break. Okay? So then this happens, and the event is over. And we'll get back to the cerebral cortex in a second. The event has happened. We are sending adrenaline. We are raising your heart rate. We are expanding your lungs so you can take in more air. We are sending energy to your limbs just in case you have to run or you have to fight or anything like that. Now, these responses are normal responses. These are normal responses in an acute manner, which as in every now and again, you're going through this type of situation. This is totally a normal situation. But, oh, and let me tell you, in a normal situation, let's just go there. In a normal situation, this type of response would happen after the situation is over or the threat is over. You would then, everything would calm back down. You would now, your cerebral cortex would come back online. Your thinking mind, your logical mind would come back online. Example is, say the traumatic event was you were being chased by a dog. When you got chased by the dog, your heart rate, you running. Whether you got hurt by the dog or not, after you feel safe, after you realize that you are safe, then everything calms back down. Everything goes back to normal. Now, what you would normally be able to do would be to analyze and integrate and process that experience. And when I say process that experience, that I mean like ask yourself some questions like, am I safe now? I don't see that dog nowhere. You know what I mean? How did that make me feel? Just ask yourself questions to process out this event that revved you up and that turned on all of these, special chemicals and elixirs and things to be made in your body. You will process it out. You will realize that you are okay. And you wouldn't hold every dog accountable for this particular situation. Now, what we're talking about here is what, to me, this is my personal opinion. I feel like the whole world, the earth, everything is going through trauma. We've been just living in a soup of trauma. Like, it's crazy. So I feel like that we are actually in a constant chronic stress response all the time. So when it's chronic, we don't have the time to process. So it's like the cerebral cortex never came back online. One reason is because we're constantly being traumatized, so we never realize where we're supposed to process and integrate this information after what seems to be a traumatic event, but they seem to happen so often. Let me also say this, that trauma is experienced on multiple levels. And when I say multiple levels, I mean, as an individual, you have personal traumas. And those are your personal traumas, like things that happen in your life to you, whether that be abuse, neglect, childhood trauma, and the list can go on. Those things happen specifically to you. And then there's another one, which is a collective, meaning a group of people or groups of people are affected, not exactly the same, but their bodies are having stress response to an event that was witnessed or experienced by a group of people. Now, that can be anything from a school shooting, that can be a supermarket shooting, that could be a car. You saw, multiple people saw a car accident. I mean, women have been subjected to a collective trauma when it comes to stifling us, that kind of thing. Poverty, a large number of group of people who are directly affected by their living environment. And it can go on. It can go on. And just understand that you are going through all different types of traumas at all different types of time. Now, let me just say the last one. And the last one is intergenerational. Intergenerational is something that you experience. I mean, your family line has experienced. Your grandmother's grandmother, your father's father. You know what I'm saying? Like those types of things. And it trickles down to you within your family line. And I'm going to go into how that really, really deeply affects you. So mind you, with these three different types of ways that you are experiencing trauma, if you think about it, let's just say me. So as an individual, I have childhood trauma. Most people do. Okay. And people need to understand that childhood trauma isn't just what your parents did or did not, do to you. Like, to be completely honest, to me, I think it's a dramatic experience to be born. You know what I'm saying? It is a traumatic experience to be inside of a womb of a woman whom may not have a home, may be verbally abused, maybe physically abused, maybe emotionally abused. You're sitting inside of the waters of her body, that amniotic fluid. All of those things. So I feel like trauma starts even before being birthed here. And then again, when you're birthed here. And then all the stuff after that. So that's just my opinion. So I have my own individual traumas. And then on a collective, I've lived in the hood. I'm a Black woman. I am a Black woman in America. I am a woman. You know what I'm saying? There's that, okay, in itself. You can agree or disagree, but this is just me. And then intergenerational. The story of slavery, the things that went on that I was aware of at certain times. Like if your grandmom has an issue with or had a traumatic situation, that can be passed down through your genetics, through your cells, through everything. So, like I said, there's no escaping from this. There's this idea that, we all, like, there's some people who deal with it. No, everybody, no one's going to miss the swift hand of trauma in this lifetime. And when I say no one, I mean not humans, not animals, not nothing. Like the whole place has been completely traumatized and traumatized on a massive scale. Okay. So there's that. Now, the thing about this is, like I said, the chronic aspect of this is that we are constantly bombarded with stressful situations. This stress response can be turned on for anything. And that's the problem with the chronic, because the chronic now rehashes the same stress response, even though the threat isn't there, or the threat or what is perceived to be the threat is at a minimal. So it now has manifested in not just you having your traumatic event and maybe you're just sad, but now it's manifested into anger. It's manifested into worry. It's manifested into doubt. It's manifested into all of depression, anxiety, all of these things. Now, those stress responses are going on in your body, whether you're aware of it or not, when you're worried, when you are stressed about money, when you are concerned about the fate of the world, your children, the validity of yourself. Like, there's just so many things on a daily basis that those responses are being triggered. And that's what it is. It gets triggered and your body responds to it as if it was from the original event. And that's the crazy part. But I'm going to put a list up like over here, and I'm going to read some of it. Some of the things that we are dramatically affected by on a daily basis when it comes to chronic stress. When it comes to chronic stress, these are the things that stress us out. These are some of the things that stress us out. Listen, increased parental pressures, increased adoption of electronic media. Now, apparently there's a syndrome called electronic screen syndrome. I knew this a few years ago, that there was going to be some diseases or something related to, in a medical form, related to all of this technology and things like that. Increased performance pressures, education, career, and financial, etc. Increased terrorist events, war. Everybody in every other country hates you and they coming to kill you. Increase in divisive news. If you watch the news, one people saying this and one people saying that, and they're battling and fighting over that. Dramatic increase in violent TV programs, movies, and video games. And the list can go on. Like I said, I'm going to put it up right here, and you'll just have to, like pause. But these are the things that we are faced with on a daily basis. Okay. So that is the biology of the stress response that happens when you're going through a trauma. And there's a process that needs to happen from a beginning, the middle, and the end. And we are without the end. We are without the end. We are without the awareness to process through things. We want everything quick, fast. We want to just get over it and move on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not how this goes. That's not how this goes. You can't be revved up like that and then not process and then slowly bring yourself back to your home frequency. So, all right. So let's get to the nitty gritty of this thing. The nitty gritty of this thing is this. This is the deeper part of this. And it is, so how is this traveling with you? How is it possibly moving through this lifetime and previous lifetimes and future lifetimes? And everything that we just discussed about, everything that I just discussed about the amygdala, the hypothalamus, the cerebral cortex, all of that. Now dig this. Remember I said that the amygdala is a complex structure of cells, okay? Everything that happens during the stress response, I mean, any intake that your body takes and goes through your bloodstream. That's why we have so many blood vessels everywhere. They're in our ears, all of our senses. Everything goes through your bloodstream. Now, what is your blood? Your blood is, let's just take your blood. So your blood is not just blood. Actually, it's not even majority blood. So take a look at this. Now, as you can see, your blood is 44% blood, red blood vessels, okay? Red blood cells, okay? 4% white blood cells. You see all that up there? That is 55% plasma. This is all going to come together in just a second, okay? Now, let's take the plasma out of that. But also remember that the plasma is majority of your blood. Majority of your blood, okay? So let's take the 55% of the plasma over here. Now, what is the majority of plasma? Plasma is 90% water. That is the key to this whole thing. 90% water, okay? Once again, plasma is majority of your blood. Excuse me. Is majority of your blood. 90% water, okay? Oh, and it's 10% some other chemicals, but that's not what the focus is. The focus is on this 90% of water. Okay, so you have 90% of water in your, not 90%, 90% of water in the plasma of your blood, And your blood is 55% plasma. So your blood is majority water, okay? The signals, when I said the complex structure of cells that gets this warning, the amygdala, cells are made up of 70% water. Okay. Next, the hypothalamus and the signals that it sends to the autonomic ANS system. The sympathetic nervous system, what happens when there is a traumatic event and it gets a signal to activate the fight or flight. It sends signals to your organs. It sends signals to your heart. It starts to produce hormones. Hormones are 70% water. I think maybe 80%. It might be 80%, but mostly water. Those things, all of these things that it does, the things that it revs up, all of those things are mostly water. Okay? Then the cerebral cortex. All of this is going on in your brain. Your brain is 80% water. Okay? Your body, depending on who you're speaking to, 70 to 80, maybe 85, or where you get this information, is still mostly water. Your environment is mostly water. Look at what consists of air in the atmosphere. So all of this is around water. Like, literally. Then, the other part is, okay, so what is that? Why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal? Probably because water holds memory. Water is able to be imprinted with anything that you imprint upon it. So the water that's all up in your body, that is your body, your brain, the signals, the cells, your cells. And if you look up something, I'm pretty sure, let me see. How many cells is in your body? Let's see. It's a number. How many cells are in the human body? Ooh, 37.2 trillion cells. And how much of a cell is water? 70%. So out of that 37 point whatever trillion cells in your body, it's mostly water. This water holds memory. It holds memory. So that means when you have that stress response, the water in your body, the water that is your brain, the water in your cells, the water that is your cells, your lymphatic system, all the waters of what you are has recorded this information. And just look at it as when there's a storm or something and there's a surge of water, the water all gathers in certain places or rises up in certain places. And just as after the storm, the waters normally, dissipate and go back, imagine that your waters never go back when you're in a chronic state of heightened stress response. Now, this is how this travels. Let me tell you how this travels, because we are still drinking and immersing ourselves and being and filled with the water from when this place began. Okay, this is what is true. There's no new water here. In all actuality, we're still drinking the same water as the dinosaurs did. This place started out as water, and then land emerged from under the water. So this is how this is traveling through us from this lifetime to other lifetimes and future lifetimes, because that your great-great-great-great-grandmom drank, let's just keep it that simple, the same water that your great-great-grandmom drank, because when she took it in, it went through her bloodstream, all of the vessels and things in her mouth. She took it in. It communicated. That's another thing, that water is communicating. This is what happens with memory and information. It's like Akasha. So this water is communicating with your grandmother's or great-great-great-grandmother's cells, okay? She then gets pregnant, and some of her cells are put into this new baby. That water has now passed down to that baby. Then that baby drinks, get out, drink, take a bath, when your skin absorbs the water, like all of this kind of stuff. So it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. This is how this is passing through your genetics. This is how this is passing through your generation after generation. The memory of what once was is carried on in this manner. Okay? So the other thing that needs to be really understood is that when you're in a chronic space of heightened, excessive adrenaline, excessive cortisol, excessive, all of these chemicals going on in your body, it also retards your growth. And you're not able to process things emotionally correctly. You're not able to process things mentally correctly, physically. Like, you're just not able to do certain things. Like, a lot of times we go to the doctors for stuff, but if you really just think about some things and maybe do a quick research, you'll find that the things that you go to the doctor for are stressors that have been a part of your life and are currently a part of your life, or you're thinking about them being a part of your future. Excuse me. I was just reading a book the other day that said, what was this book? And it said that when it comes, now mind you, this chronic stress situation, this chronic stress response causes all kinds of health issues, mostly mental health issues, but all kinds of health issues and diseases and things like that. But in that book, it said that due to your pattern in your waters, from this lifetime and previous lifetimes, you're actually you're creating the disease that you may get later on in life at like 2 or 3 years old. You're creating what is it called? You're creating the home for it to, the womb for it to grow into something that may not show up until you're 50 or may not show up until you're 35. Do you understand the concept of that? So you mean to tell me while your toddler is running around, your toddler is beginning the process of possibly having cancer, or possibly having arthritis, or possibly having, whatever the disease is. The medical field doesn't discuss that with you, and I'm not sure that this is absolutely right, but I can understand how this could be very much true, okay? So why are we in this constant area of stress response all the time? It is just from that list of things that I said that I put up earlier in the video. Listen, there's all kinds. I mean, look, the list is so long. The other things are social media pressure, the breakdown of the family unit. It's all awry. Sexual orientation confusion, overly protected, indulged children, reduced expectations for young adults. Like, you know, there's certain people that just are living in an environment that believe that their children are not even going to make it to a certain age. Could you imagine how stressful that is? The easy access and acceptance of recreational drugs, increased financial pressures. I mean, come on, and the list can go on. And not to mention, we all just came out of a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some people still think we in it. You know what I mean? Like, taking on so much on a daily basis. How are you supposed to deal with stress if your stress is somewhere that you are every single day? How are you supposed to process that? Are you supposed to process it in the 2 days that you have off? How is that supposed to go? Now, with all these things that are arise and, you know, why we are having these responses all the time. And the thing about it is, like I said, when it's chronic, it's not even as severe. The situation isn't even as severe as the original stress response in the first place. So you are getting highly angry over, you're getting highly upset and triggered because the lady at Starbucks put regular milk in your coffee instead of almond milk, and you're blowing a goddamn gasket. Okay? These are the things that happen. You are still upset with your parents from things that happened 30 years ago. You're being triggered. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many things that link this to us. All right, so what's the solution here, sis? What's the solution? Hold on. We had to stop and start over again. The solution is this. First and foremost, this is what I recommend for any work of processing and journeying through coming up out of this muck. Okay? Because we're at a time where we're coming up out of it. There's way too many. This is why trauma is a buzzword in the first place. Spirituality is a thing. It's because we've all realized, like, what the hell is going on here? What is going on here? We should not be out here concerned on a daily basis about how to get the bag. Like, do you understand how unnatural that is? Trying to be ultra and uberly successful every day and creative every single day. And I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but creative in the sense of, I need to entertain these people and spend 6 hours recording something that turns out to only be 2 minutes. Or shoot. Social media don't even like anything 2 minutes. They rather you get this thing together in 15 to 20 seconds. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the work that is put into for just that short period of time. So the water is the key. The water in your body, the water in your environment, just the water. So what do? Well, because water holds memory and water can be imprinted, you now reprogram your water. You reprogram your water. Let me also say this. One of the 3 components of mind control. Remember how I said, I'm going to come back to the retraining the water. Remember how I said that when all of these things are going on in a chronic space, you are retarding your growth. And think about that. Like I said, you're being triggered by things that happened 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because you haven't processed it. And once you process things, you have more of an understanding. Shout out to SD, Miss SD, Spiritual Doula, with the knowledge plus understanding equals power. So once you process these things, you get a different idea of what the event was. You now have clarity on that. But why would anybody want to retard the earth? Why would anybody, and retard, when I say retard, I mean suppress. Why wouldn't you want people to grow up to their fullest potential? Why wouldn't you want people to have time to know who they are and research themselves or be aware of the things that's going on in this inside universe that they have no idea about? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, if people want to control the people or the earth or the plant life or the mineral life, like if you want to control them, you can't tell them who they are. Why would you do that? You can't make it a thing for them to choose them. You know what I mean? The keys to mind control is trauma, repetition, and symbols. And I don't know about you, but if you're being traumatized on a normal basis, that is trauma being repeated over and over and over again. And then the symbols are the things that trigger you. It is like this slavery situation. Okay, slavery happened, child, I don't know how many years ago. I don't know. The version that we've been told has happened so many years ago. But if you look around, you'll see many versions of slavery going on right now. It's just packaged in a different manner. But it's gone on for so long. And this is the history that the entertainment industry, decides to keep perpetrating this narrative. Every year there's a new slavery movie. Every year, repetition and symbols. Repetition and symbols. Traumatic situation being shown to you on multiple times with symbols like the noose, with symbols like the chains, with symbols like get over here, boy. You know what I mean? Like, these are things. This is how you're being traumatized all the time. The remembrance of these massive events plastered across your screen every year. It's the same way as how you get duped into going crazy for Christmas every year. You know what I mean? You weren't traumatized enough last year when you were trying to get your kids all them daggone toys, but yet you do it again this year. Because you know why? The jingles put you in the mood. The damn triggers put you in the damn mood to do this mess. And it is a guarantee. If you don't disassociate and detach from it, it's a guarantee that every year your body is going to rev up 10 times more than it did on a regular day for these Christmas presents. So I just wanted to say that. So back to the waters. The waters. What do you do? What do you do? And first and foremost, like I said, the one thing that you have to do is forgive yourself. I know that's like, wait a minute. What does that have to do with anything? One of the things that is very important is forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for the things that you did not know. The things that you did not take time to know. The things that you did under an influence that wasn't necessarily yours. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself allows you to then forgive other people and other situations and, things. And if you don't have compassion for yourself, if you do not have self-love for yourself, if you do not forgive yourself, it is very hard for you to now gain a different perspective for the masses or for just another human being, period. Because it all boils down to, well, you have no idea what that person is going through. That person that your parents that got this whole childhood trauma thing going on. You have no idea who your mother really is. You have no idea who your father really is. And let me tell you something. Your mother, if you are a mother, think about this. And think about what I'm saying when I say this about your mother. You and your mother and all the mothers are carrying around the memories of the entire history of this place and beyond. Okay? You are and I'm talking about the black woman. Okay? You are carrying this around. Understand that. Mitochondria, DNA. Okay? Understand that. Understand that. So you are carrying around way more than what this lifetime is showing you. So number one, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, because forgiving yourself shifts your mindset, and you get out of being the victim, and you get out of everything happened to you. And then you realize that you can recalibrate yourself. You can nurture your waters. You can pull information from your waters, because that water recorded that situation in its entirety. And it's parts of it that you weren't aware of. Remember how I said the cerebral cortex cuts out? There's parts that you don't see. It's like when people do regressions, and they will have you pull up in your mind, you know what I'm saying, a situation or something that happened. And then in that situation, you realize like, oh, I didn't even see the blue chair over there. This whole time you've been telling the story about what this was and what this was, this, that, whatever. And you didn't realize that you never got the full picture. And that's the part about being able to, dang, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so reprogramming yourself, reprogramming your mind, reprogramming your waters. I mean, and that's basically like the same thing. And you can do this many ways. You can release these clogged, these polluted waters. You can purify and release these things. And there's ways that you can release it. You can release it through your sweat. If you ever look up the components of sweat, you know how they say that you release toxins and things like that through your sweat. Well, toxins and trauma is kind of like the same. Trauma in a chemical form. That's what I'm saying. Which is very much true, because let me see, how can I explain this? You can release it through your sweat. If it comes to me, I'll come back to that. You can release it through your tears. Your tears have multiple. There's different types of tears, but I'm talking about the emotional tears, and I'll put something up over here stating that your emotional tears actually releases these vibrations, these frequencies from your ocean, your water. You know what I'm saying? Like it releases those things. So crying is good. And when you stop yourself from flowing, because this is what this is all about. This is all oceanic. A whole oceanic like idea. When you are able to flow, you are much more, you're in harmony. You're just, like going with the flow of things or whatever. So once you can bring back a natural flow to your waters, you then are better. So you have your tears, you have your sweat, and then you have your urine. Now, there's this chemical called urea, and urea is a chemical in your body that carries away waste from, if I'm not mistaken, it's either the liver or kidney or both. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember exactly, but it carries away waste from your body. So you can actually release these elixirs and these traumas from peeing. And another thing that you can do is vibrational healing, sound bowls. Because like I said, Like I said, you are water. Your brain is water. Your cells are water. Your organs are water. Your skin is water. Your blood vessels are water. Your lymphatic system is water. And water holds memory, and water can be imprinted, as in molecular structure can be restructured and can be imprinted with anything that you desire. Okay? So you can take teas. You can take flower essences, gem essences. You can use crystals because crystals are water. You can do so many things. Breathing. Let me tell you, one of the things also is this plasma, this movement in your body doesn't get pumped like how your heart pumps your blood and all of that kind of stuff like this. The rest of the words in your body doesn't get pumped. And the way it does, I'm talking about like without, it doesn't get pumped like how the heart pumps your blood without you doing anything. The rest of the stuff in your body needs to be moved around by movement. So stretching, yoga, breathing exercises, expanding your lungs. You understand what I'm saying? Like there's so many things, you'll have to look it up. But this is just my suggestion. So, in conclusion, and I believe that this is where I'm going to end at. With awareness, you can stop being a victim to your own personal stress responses or response. And you can heal yourself. You can nurture yourself. You can love yourself, and you can be aware of yourself through many modalities that don't involve someone else. These are things that you can do for yourself. And don't let these responses kill you. Because in a nutshell, that is what it's doing. It's killing you slowly. And I don't know about anybody else, but we don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. You know, sometimes I think by doing this work, shadow work, and that's what shadow work is. Shadow work is just basically pulling up things and being able to process them. It's the same thing as processing your stress, your response after a traumatic situation. You don't have to live in fear. You do not have to live in worry. You do not have to live in any of these lower vibrational energies or feelings. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can rise above it. It may be painful, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to happen. Listen, so many things are on the other side of pain. So many things are on the other side of fear. Pain is the last resort, the last signal. Anything that is reached at a physical level is the end of it. It's not like the beginning, like, oh, my leg just started hurting. No. Whatever was going on inside of your leg started months, years ago. And it wasn't, the signal wasn't adhered to by you. So it kept going until it got your attention, basically. So you don't have to live with anxiety. You don't have to live with depression. You don't have to live with mental illnesses. You don't have to do anything. Take the cap off. And that's what I believe. Take the cap off. Take the cap off your imagination. Take the cap off of who and what you think you are. Take the cap off of all your preconceived perceptions of what this is, what you're doing, and how are you going to get through this. Trust yourself. Figure out that you are yourself and then trust that. Okay? Not nothing outside of you. Nothing else outside of you. You. Get to know you. Ask yourself questions. Why do I feel like that in certain situations? Why do I have anxiety? What is the problem? How am I emotionally dealing with this? There's just so many ways to get you situated. So anyway, I'm done. And for those of you who have wanted to, deeper understand the biology of trauma, here you have it. This is my interpretation. And this interpretation has helped me. It has helped me understand myself better. It helps me understand the people around me. It helps me understand the environment around me. Even down to animals and plants and things like that. I know that there is something different going on in the world, on this planet, within me, without all of those things, because none of this stuff was a point of interest before. And I do believe that there are things within our bodies and our brains and our hearts that are unlocking. Deeper parts of our cells, like that mitochondria, are being awakened. And information, which water is, information which is being brought to the surface, is being enlightened. Some light is being shined on them. So don't be so quick to just jump on the bandwagon with these words. The world has turned spirituality into what do they call it? They trying to bastardize it in somewhat way. Like, it's gotten to the point that it's got to celebrities and things like that. That's when things are changing. And you'll pay attention to all the movies, all the new movies now are so open with like witchcraft and, indigenous people's ways and, things and stuff like that. But don't be tricked. Still do your own research. Don't believe what I said. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't believe what I said. If it resonates to you, then look more into it. But anyway, there you have it. The biology of trauma. Do you want to know or not?